Sublime magnificence.
Guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent big ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of This Guy Hasn't Seen, and I'm joined by my co-host and running mate, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hey, Omari, thank you so much for having me back. I love this little thing that we got going on where we trade things back and forth that one guy's seen, the other one hasn't. It can be movies, it can be TV shows, it can be documentaries. I keep saying it, but someday we're going to do a concert film. Who knows? Anything out there is on the table. And this is one of those special weeks where you send me something.
Oh yeah, it's special, all right. Yeah, so doing the thing this week. Uh, got a movie from Netflix. We watched our last film on Netflix, a film from like 2020 onward that was on Netflix. So, I was like, 2020 film on Netflix. Let's have another 2020 film on Netflix. Obviously, Knives Out 2019, but I ain't find about it till 2020. That's on me. Bottom line is, I didn't watch it till 2024, so who cares? Anyway, I suggested a film called The Man from Toronto.
The Man from Toronto from 2022. The world's deadliest assassin and New York's biggest screw up are mistaken for each other at an Airbnb rental. It is directed by Patrick Hughes. It
The
is written by Robbie
synopsis.
Fox, Chris Brenner, and Jason Blumenthal.
Why
And
is
it
it such an
stars Kevin
Airbnb?
Hart and Woody Harrelson and Jasmine Matthews. Oh, Mari.
Airbnb has so little to
I'm
do.
guessing this was on at work.
It very well may have been. Uh, the answer is yes. At about the year it came out. So you said it was from 2022?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yes, it was on. I watched it. Very little audio, but it seemed fun. There was more action than I remembered. Or rather, I remembered more action than there was. We'll touch on it. But I liked I liked Woody Harrelson. I like this. Now, full disclosure. First I'll ask you what you were expecting, and I will fully disclose what I typed under what are you expecting, despite the fact that I had seen this movie already.
So full disclosure, I like to go into these things with a good attitude, positive, upbeat notions about the movie. Anything could happen. But I was pretty sure that this was going to be a walking pile of garbage. Um, Considering it was a Kevin Hart movie, that I had never heard of. I don't ever remember him promoting. If he did, it was for 5 minutes. It was one of those movies that he made in the span of like 5 years when he made 5,000 movies somehow. And this is not one of the five that I know, so it's probably real bad. Was my thoughts, and then I delete those things. I push them away when I hit play. I really do. I can have preconceived notions, and I'm usually pretty good about just shoving those bad boys away, and going into this movie and saying, "Hey, let's give it its all." But beforehand, I definitely was
Yeah,
like, "This
I
thing is going to be."
so
The second you told it to me, and
so
I
what
was
I
like, "Kevin
typed
Hart, yeah, this is going to be
uh,
awful."
so so
I
what I
love Kevin
typed
Hart.
so
I knew this was
usually
going to be awful.
yeah, usually it would be taking notes and stuff for things. If it's a movie, I suggest I don't bother taking a note for what am I expecting because it's a movie I've seen already. But one, I didn't realize at the time of suggesting it before trying to take it back and then suggesting it again last week. Didn't realize Knives Out was also an Oscar film. Uh, so I was like, I wanted to save this for when it was something that wasn't nominated for an Oscar, but just a solid movie, but what I typed here, I typed expecting a shit show, especially compared to the Oscar winners we've been watching. That's what I put for expecting because I was like so trepidatious getting ready to watch this film today to film this. I was like, uh, especially coming off an Oscar winner, this is not something I have that much confidence in. Like, I had confidence enough to suggest it at some point on the show. So better now than ever, rip that band aid off.
Mhm.
But to respond to an Oscar, that was not what I was. But like you, I'm optimistic when it comes to these things. Maybe watching it full on audio, get all the Kevin Hart goodness, Woody Harrelson in his serious tone. Better time this time, and Bill will enjoy it too. Sometimes it's good to take a break from critical. Enjoy the spectacle as opposed to the technical aspect of what the
Absolutely.
actors are doing.
Sometimes it's just good to have a good popcorn movie.
Sometimes, correct. So, Bill, that said, getting into the movie, I guess some initial reaction flash, and
Sure.
just discuss the
Omari,
movie itself.
my first note, was the opening was like a bad SNL skit. It's like an SNL skit in dress rehearsal. And like Kevin Hart is doing it at like half energy. Like there's
I,
so many scenes in this movie where the actors are at like half energy.
I put a
Where
note
it
that just said Kevin Hart comedy ellipsis for that opening.
Yeah, I mean, and I love Kevin Hart, and I feel like this is just it's just it wasn't fleshed out at all.
I
It
like,
felt like a first draft of a skit that might not even make it to TV.
I'll agree.
And then this is how we open our film.
Yeah, and I'll address it here because it kind of applies to the whole film, like what you were saying with the whole half energy thing. With my Kevin Hart comedy ellipsis. Yes, I like Kevin Hart's stand up. There are films of his that he has been in that I'm like, yeah. Also, films of his where I have been like, this don't work for me. That one doesn't work for me, brother. And he's very hit or miss in his comedy. And this opening, I was like, shit. I thought I remembered him being funnier in the movie than this. This is one of those Kevin Hart comedies. That said, we get Woody Harrelson's intro, the first like outside of the opening montage of him, the Saturday Night Live skit. The interrogation scene, the expositional interrogation where Woody Harrelson's like, my dad died and killed by a bear, and now I'm gonna claw your eyes out or whatever. I liked that. I liked that particular scene. A little cliche,
Yeah,
but I liked it.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, as Bill said on the thing, the movie's plot is pretty much a mistaken identity with a marriage-threatening countdown timer. There you
Yeah,
go.
that will end 3 different times.
Also, also true.
We're gonna Lord of the Rings this bitch. Like, motherfucker, you're not Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we can jump around the
Peter
moments and
Jackson
stuff.
put in some sweat equity to fuck up that ending. You can't just Lord of the Rings this. Yeah, we have our sequel to this movie should the very ending of this movie should happen at the 2/3 part of this movie, and it should be over. And then the third thirds part should be the second film that nobody's gonna want, so we're not even gonna make it. So never mind. It's just deleted.
Actually, yeah, that the last little bit with the everybody, yeah, the sequel no one cares about.
Um,
So yeah, again, long story short, before we start jumping around, Woody Harrelson's character, the man from Toronto, part of a John Wick like assassination thing, but nowhere near as prevalent, but still an organization where
or
we
as well
got people
written.
that try to kill it. What? Yeah, I'm being honest. I but yeah, but they got code names. The man from whatever city they're based out of. Bottom line is Kevin Hart gets thought to be him because of the whole Airbnb thing. I think it's funny that Airbnb made it into the synopsis because I didn't even realize that's what it was supposed to be. It was an Airbnb. That's how little it really mattered. But
Airbnb probably funded this film somehow.
probably not. Use our service. You'll be
You might
wrapped
meet
into
Woody
a murder
Harrelson.
plot. Uh, but yeah, so he's known for interrogating people and shit. And Kevin Hart gets wrapped up in a plot involving the cops and Woody Harrelson trying to take advantage of him to get some money and stuff throughout. Um, Jumping to other like standout moments that we're just discussing the film in general.
My second note is Kevin Hart. It was during the bedroom scene
Okay,
with his wife when they're waking up in the morning, right after that opening scene with Woody, um, where they are chatting, or it's right before.
yeah, I
No,
think
it's
it's
right after. Yeah,
okay.
it's right after. We go from SNL skit Woody to then the bedroom scene, and yeah, it's just my note is Kevin Hart is rough to watch right now, and it's no, it's just the dialogue is just super basic, and it feels like no offense to anybody there. If somehow somebody saw this that was there and could tell me different, please tell me different. It just feels like everyone's at like half energy. And I don't know if like the set was down, if this, I know it's released in 2022. I don't know if it was produced maybe during some heavy COVID restrictions. And so there was just weird vibes on set. I, it just feels like a lot of these scenes, there are scenes that stand out and are funny. You're going to have Kevin Hart throwing things at the wall constantly. Some of them are going to stick because he's incredibly funny. Um, uh, but
Then there are other scenes where they try to have Kevin Hart. He can only carry so much. I think is the thing, and he is not enough. Nor do I think, to your point, he cares enough to carry this film. Um, at least in a lot of points. Like there's a fight on a plane, which could have been cool, and had some moments with people like getting shot and shit. And but in the background, they got Kevin Hart trying to like throw in ad libs, and I'm not really. None of the ad libs are really working. The fight scene itself doesn't even have like a cool song playing. It's just kind of plain background noises while they fight because that's what's happening. And Kevin Hart, ain't he funny? He made a comment about not wanting to be on this plane. Did you get that he's a fish out of water yet? Because he's a fish out of water. He teaches non contact boxing, which the film rightfully calls stupid. But but I think also they're calling it non-contact boxing, but based on the thing he was doing at the end, it's just fucking aerobics. Like they're
it's
not
Tybo.
pointing at they're not pointing at
It's
each other.
Tybo.
Yeah, they're not fighting at each other. So yeah, it's just Tybo, but he makes it
It's
seem
air
like
boxing. Yeah.
he makes it seem like you're doing it at people's faces, non-contact boxing, and it's like, yeah, that sounds stupid when you put it like that. But yeah, Tybo, Billy Blanks, huh?
Yeah. Did you not grow up in the 90s?
This is the thing. Yeah. But anyway, so that was one thing. I did your half energy thing, I think. Uh it's a good way to describe, a great way to describe the majority of what I have wrong with the film. And like, because like you said, there are moments that are good, but there are other moments where it's like, whatever. I like the Man from Miami's little intro scene where he just pulls up on the dude on the golf course and beats the
That's
shit
a
out of
cool
him.
scene. That is a cool scene. Golf club turns into a gun. Yes, that's cool. Why didn't we need to do more of that? Like so much of this stuff is such the easy choice. Like my third and final note of the film, you get a shout out. Omari, this is so bad. Ellipses. The bear tattoo? Like taking off his shirt and exposing his back for a second to reveal the worst, most obvious, hideous, gigantic bear tattoo. Like, if we didn't have to hammer this fucking bear thing home enough. Um it's
They do hammer that bear thing hard.
it's
At first, I was kind of hoping the bear thing would just be a made up story. Like he makes up his story every time he goes to interrogate somebody, just as a scare tactic, because it fucking works. Man talks about watching his granddad be mauled by a bear, and that's why he does not give a fuck about life anymore. If you scream, I'm not gonna care. I died at that lake in Toronto. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm good. He's like, I'm gonna start with your eyeballs, then I'm make your way down to your ears, and I'm like, oh, okay. And when he did the thing with the thumb, I I remembered spoilers. I remembered that the thumb doesn't work at the end, but I for some reason I told myself it's because he does it's going to be revealed he never actually kills people. He just kind of is super bluffing like Kevin Hart is, and people are just so scared of the name that
mhm.
it works, which Kevin Hart bluffs his way through like 3 interrogations, including the reason he gets wrapped up in this. Even though he's actively telling the guy he's interrogating, I'm not the guy they want. They gonna kill both of us. You gotta say something. And the dude's just so scared because the other guys in the backgrounds are such big fanboys. They're talking about the shit he's gonna do. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Oh, I'll tell you. Okay. I like that aspect.
Yeah.
There's a
Same with
good
the scene later where Woody Harrelson is in his ear and he still has to impersonate him, and he like accidentally cuts the eyeball of the dude and then he pukes into it. Like that's funny. That is great. That's a great scene.
yeah,
Uh
I like the interrogation scenes. I don't like the stuff in between. I feel like half energy. Yeah, that's just a very good way to sum up a thing. Half of the scenes are good, half uh horse sound effect apparently. I don't know if you heard because of Zoom muting, but I was just like, and then of course I do it again, like it's not gonna mute it again if it muted it the first time. Uh, so, uh, yeah,
yeah. So we like I said, we get the money, we get the final money scene,
we get the climactic showdown.
but then it's not the climactic showdown, and things are bad with Kevin Hart and his girl. And like typically this would be where it's just like 5 minutes of some wrap up of like,
Meet me at the train station. Okay, get there. I'm sorry. Let's clear
yeah,
it up.
turns out Woody actually, and then he gets a letter in the mail. I buried $30,000 in your backyard.
Yeah, because
Uh,
yeah,
best of luck.
clearly these butting head personalities. So it's a tale as old as time. They're gonna be friends by the end of it. That's
Yeah,
just how it is.
yeah.
And
Like
they
I question the conversation that Kevin Hart has at the end of the film. I question if it's really that lazy or if they're trying to be knowing of how lazy the rest of the movie has been.
Yes,
It's a struggle. Like
yes.
I
That's
don't
how
know
I
if it's
feel.
trying to laugh at itself or if it's just that bad.
When he's like, I learned something today, and you're the only person I can open up to. That shit, because that's
Yeah.
about what I was thinking. That
And
is same
I don't
thing.
really have any friends, but like I'd like to say that we're friends now. And when this whole crazy thing is done and maybe this all settles down, we could like, exchange email addresses and hang out and get some dinner every now and then. And like
Yeah, I feel
I
like they wanted jokes with the minimum effort of story. It's like we got to hit these points, so here's your scene for that. Now here's a funny scene of them like doing this.
right. So we extended the ending of the film 30 minutes, but here's this one take fight scene inside of a boxing gym that is yeah, a terrible version of like I mean not a terrible version, but it's just like
It
a
was bad.
so obviously
Ladies and gentlemen, it was a bad one
CGI
take. It
stitched.
is. It's a very bad one take thing. I noticed it. Like I didn't even have to be told that it wasn't what was going on. I'm like noticing the cuts. I care some of the least about that kind of shit. I will watch some movies and be like, that was the best action scene ever. And my cinematographer friends and/or other friends that have equal interest in cuts and edits go, that was terribly done. This, I'm telling you, terribly done. So you know it's bad. I'm like, oh, there's the cut. Because at first I was like, oh my God, did they actually do a one shot? Did they do something like, technically, oh, well, at least here's a thing. Oh, this is a fake ass one shot. And there it is. There's the cut.
Yeah, I mean, and then
Let me not emulate it.
there's a bunch of like digital stitches of shots. Like yeah, this is that fight scene is like fucking 80 cuts.
It
Like
is. Like,
uh but it's just it doesn't make the effort and the attempt at doing something cool not valid
yeah.
and it's
I mean, it
it
was a
is
fight. I mean, they're throwing weights
it
around.
is one of the more interesting parts of the movie.
Got a chainsaw guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you
And
got
you got a chainsaw guy, you got an axe fighter, and you got the
the
meat
Japanese,
giant.
you got the Japanese katana guy.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking
Yeah.
about the three hillbilly team that they
Oh
fight
yeah,
inside.
the
Uh, um,
Tacoma, the men from Tacoma Brothers.
right. Yeah, yeah, so they were Washington guys. Um,
And then you had the fucking Russian dude, so of course he had to be barefisted.
yeah, he just like Greco-Roman wrestles you or whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was like, oh, hey, multinational assassin corporation. So the Japanese guy has to use a katana, just has to. And sure enough, the scene they show of him doing that, I'm like, I've seen this scene
it's the
so
most
many times.
Japanese scene you could ever Japanese
It is the
in the
most
history
Japanese
of Japan.
assassination. Like what Americans think modern day Japanese assassination is, and
We
what they
need
have
those.
thought for the last 30 years.
Everybody's sitting on the floor. They're drinking tea. They're wearing kimonos. It's those sliding paper door things. He comes up in a ninja outfit. And then he does this thing. Shah. Yep.
Yep, that's
All
what it
right.
was.
We just wrote a movie, guys.
And that is pretty much how it went. But yeah, they had that. And then the Japanese guy doesn't even get to do anything in the actual thing, which, haha, funny, anticlimactic. He gets hit by a car, but also everybody else got to do shit. If you're gonna have the
Also,
katana
Kevin
guy,
Hart just got hit by that same car just like that, and he was fine. He got up in like 5 minutes.
well, he got hit by the guy from Miami's car.
Right.
This other guy got hit by Deborah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's true.
The Dodge, the 1969 Dodge Charger RT 440 or whatever the fuck it was.
whatever the fuck it was after I think naming it
I don't
identical.
know the numbers. The 440. I'm not entirely sure about that.
All right,
But
Omari, what do you think about this man from Toronto?
the movie is clearly the worst one of the season. I've seen worse movies than it, however.
Yeah,
And I
it's
already stated
not as bad as Hostel.
no.
It's not as bad as the Players Club.
No.
Um, it's not as oh,
What are you trying to
ugh.
say? What are you trying
I'm
to say?
trying to decide if it's not as bad as Red Notice.
Oh, oh my God, that is close. I oh
Yeah, Red Notice is worse
the
just for
egg.
that opening egg.
My mind actually went to the egg this time. I'm like, I know Bill hated that egg, but I tried to look for things like, yeah, I want to say this is better than Red Notice, but it may just be due to recency bias. But I'm pretty sure I can count more things I like about this than I liked about Red Notice.
I will say it is not better than You Got Served or Dashing Through the Snow, which was also on my nominees for worst films of the year last year.
Oh, and looking at that, the worst films of the year last year.
It is not as bad as The Players Club.
How about Star Wars Christmas Special?
See, Star Wars Christmas Special is a different level of bad.
Okay.
That's an aggressive that's a Hall of Fame starting five all time. Worst of the worst, so bad it's crushingly funny. Um uh uh um Worst. That
That's fair. Yeah,
I don't
yeah. Like I said, is it the worst thing we've seen this season so far? Yes.
but it is better than most of my worst movie nominees from the last 2 years. I'm looking at my first year as well, and it's better than a lot of those.
Yeah. So it
I'd watch this
definitely
again over The Greatest Showman.
damn. All right, I will not make that same claim. However, I respect the fact that you are making it. And I hope Jazz has seen this movie because I want to see his response to that.
Oh, Jazz doesn't watch these, or
Uh,
especially this far in.
yeah, well, he doesn't watch them on the movies he hasn't seen because he wants to see it so that we don't spoil it, according to him. That said, speaking of Super Jazz, there you have it. By the way, yeah, it was a movie. Speaking of Super Jazz, you can catch me with him on some other stuff. But what are we doing next week, Bill? Before I start talking about that.
Oh, next week, Omari, I think you know, like it is on this channel and other spots in this channel, wrestling's hot in these streets, Omari. Um, and so I think we should trade some matches again.
Okay.
I think I give you something and you give me something.
Oh, I like it.
Maybe I give you something old and maybe you give me something new AEW-ish.
Okay. I like that idea.
Um,
Yeah.
h- how about let's watch Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior from WrestleMania 6.
Okay. Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 6.
Have you not you haven't seen that one, right?
No, I have not seen a lot of Warrior matches for that matter, or Hogan.
Okay.
Both are before my time of a wrestling fan. So I'm
Perfect.
looking forward to that. You know what? Want to have fun with the AEW match. So I'm gonna have a rising star in AEW known as Darby Allen, and I just want to have a fun match. I'm gonna pick a match with him versus Jeff Hardy. No disqualifications.
Okay.
The Darby Allen of old versus the guy that was clearly, or Darby Allen versus the guy he was clearly inspired by.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Yeah, wrestling on this guy hasn't seen next week.
Yeah.
There's also often wrestling on another show we do that you can find here on Saturdays called You Don't Watch Sports, where we cover 3 topics to sprinkle a little sports information into your conversation as we are the guiding light through the sea that is your sports talk.
Indeed.
Omari, we got a new video coming out on these channels very frequently now that used to come out on another channel, or it still comes out on another channel, but it also comes out on
Yes.
this channel.
So on Wednesdays we have a show that I do with the aforementioned Super Jazz.
Super Jazz.
Thank you very much. As nature intended, yes. It's called the Whatever We Want podcast, where we talk about just that, whatever we want. And we do that on Wednesdays. Seasons 1 through 3 have been on a separate channel. Season 4, for now at least, is simulcasted on both, so you can catch that here, get an idea of what that show is. But we're growing, and it shows.
Super Jazz. Oh, Super Jazz, you made me come out again. Cause you see, Omari and I got another show on Feo Grande. And it's called Mocked Draft. Super Jazz, I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. We need you on the mocked draft, brother. Or else you're gonna get the 1, 2, 3 from Bill.
He means it. That said, I only got one more word for you. Adiosness. I know I held up a 2. Supposed to be a peace sign, damn it.